You see all these amazing charts and graphs everywhere, right? But have you ever stopped to wonder how we actually get there? Today, we're pulling back the curtain on the crucial first steps. How we turn a chaotic mess of raw information into something that can actually tell us a story. This is the journey from myths to meaning.
So take a look at this. On one side, that's what data often looks like in the wild. A total mess, right? Jumbled, inconsistent. But on the other side, that's our goal. A beautiful, clean, organized table that's ready for analysis. So, how do we get from point A to point B? It might look like magic, but trust me, it's a process. And a surprisingly straightforward one at that.
All right, so how do we actually pull this off? How do we make that transformation happen? Well, it all comes down to a foundational three-step process called data compilation. You can think of it as the secret engine room of data science. It's what turns all that raw junk into a refined product that's ready for the spotlight.
So our first stop is the data cleanup. Before we can even think about analyzing anything, we have to roll up our sleeves and deal with all the inevitable errors and typos hiding in our dataset. This super important first stage is called editing.
Editing is basically like being a data detective. Seriously, you're putting on your detective hat, grabbing a magnifying glass, and meticulously scanning for any clues that something's off, and then fixing them. The goal is to build a foundation of trustworthy information. Because, let's be real, if your data is wrong, any analysis you do later is just built on shaky ground.
So what are we hunting for exactly? Well, these are the usual suspects. You've got nonsense values, stuff that just plain can't be real. Then there are simple typos, fat finger mistakes. You'll find missing information where there should be an answer, and inconsistent entries that don't match up with everything else.
And this quote right here just perfectly nails the idea of a nonsense value. It's an immediate red flag. I mean, you don't need a PhD in statistics to know that a score of 150 out of 100 is impossible. And that is exactly the kind of obvious mistake that editing is designed to catch.
So let's be super clear. Editing isn't just some boring chore you can skip. It is absolutely critical for making sure your results actually mean something. Trying to build an analysis on unedited data? Yeah, that's like trying to build a house on quicksand. It's just not going to work.
Okay, so our data's clean. Awesome. But now we have a totally new problem. A lot of our data is written in, well, human language, words like good or female. And our analysis software, it doesn't really speak human.
Exactly. I mean, think about it. How can a computer calculate the average of good and bad, or find a mathematical relationship between male and female? It just can't. This is what we call qualitative data, and to analyze it, we have to translate it into the one language the software truly understands: numbers.
The solution to this translation problem is called coding, and it's a simple but incredibly powerful idea. We essentially become a universal translator, systematically turning every single word-based category into a numerical code that a computer can work with. And the process itself? Super straightforward. First, you just find all the data that isn't already a number. Second, you create a little key. We call it a codebook that assigns a unique number to each category, kind of like a secret decoder ring. And finally, you just go through your data and replace all the words with their new number codes. Simple as that.
And here's exactly what one of those codebooks looks like in action. We've decided male will be represented by the number 1, female by 2. Good becomes 1 and bad becomes 0. And just like that, bam, our qualitative data is now machine readable, and we can finally start doing some math with it.
Okay, we've made huge progress. Our data is squeaky clean and it's all in numerical form. But this creates our final challenge. We're now just staring at a massive, overwhelming list of numbers. It might be organized, but it's not yet understandable.
Seriously, just try to imagine a spreadsheet with 10,000 rows of just ones and twos. Could you spot a pattern in that? No way. It's practically impossible for the human brain to process that much raw information. We need a way to summarize this stuff into a compact, digestible format.
And that brings us to our final step, tabulation. This is where the magic happens. Tabulation takes that ridiculously long list of numbers and organizes it into a simple summary table, often just by counting how many times each value appears.
Here's a great analogy. Think of a scorecard for any sport. It summarizes the game, right? It tells you the final score, who scored what, but it doesn't list every single play or every single pitch. Tabulation does the exact same thing for our data. It gives us the highlights, the final score.
And this is the beautiful result. Instead of thousands of individual numbers, we have a simple table that gives us instant insight.
We can see, in like half a second, that our dataset contains 48 males and 52 females. All that chaos has become crystal clear.
So let's just step back for a second and recap the incredible journey our data has been on. We started with something messy and basically unusable, and through a clear, logical process, we've transformed it into something truly meaningful. Looking at this before and after really drives the point home, doesn't it? On the left, we had chaos. On the right, we have clarity. This is the power of data compilation. It's the hidden, behind-the-scenes work that makes all the exciting parts of data analysis even possible. So if you remember anything today, remember this three-step process. First, you edit to clean up the mess and make it accurate. Second, you code to translate the words into numbers so the computer gets it. And third, you tabulate to summarize everything into a form that you can actually understand.
And with this compiled data, now the real fun can begin. This clean, organized table is the launchpad for creating all those insightful charts, graphs, and statistical models that help us uncover hidden stories and make important decisions.
So the next time you see a compelling data visualization, remember the invisible but essential journey that data took to get there. The preparation isn't just a chore, it's the first and most critical chapter in telling a powerful story with data. Your data is ready. The only question left is, what story will it tell?